That's basically what I have for now. I'm curious if anybody had any questions.
I am. I'm quite intrigued.
You want to come up?
Sure. I too have a cold. Maybe the flu. Maybe more. Well, I'm just telling you, this would be fabulous for women. Because we really, like when we go to the beach, the kind of swimsuit we get is all depending on, our little booty dents that we have. And thigh dents. So many women are lucky because they are in great loving relationships with people who don't mind all that. But it is a measure of, image, and, people do buy certain things based on how they look at the beach. So I think this is something that could influence a lot of women and some men, frankly, to invest in making themselves look how they want to look.
Well, I guess what's your take? Because obviously we're too big sitting here. I'm interested to.
Well, you guys are looking at the financials, but it's very
right. I want to hear the
like breast cancer. Men get breast cancer too.
right.
So, that's why I'm telling you that this is not just a product for women. It could be for men too, who care about their body image. I don't know which sector, but undoubtedly, I'm sure there are people who would care about that, their body image. A lot of people do weird things for their body image.
Yeah.
But you guys are looking at the financials of it and just going through federal protocol and getting it to the market. We all know that the whole testing period takes sometimes decades to go from being in the science center to getting the product on the actual shelf. And the easier we can do that, such as Restasis, you're talking about that, which I have in my bag. But in any case, the sooner you can do that, the better. I do think about stories about women who have gone to either Mexico or other places. Kanye's mom, she was in that situation, and then I was thinking of Usher's ex-wife. She was in that same situation as well. Both of them, and so they got really, obviously one of them passed away because of one of those unregulated procedures. But when you have money, you're so eager to get something done. It may not mean anything. So that's why any product that you bring to bear, bring to the market, you want to be able to have it be safe and secure and have a high confidence in what the product actually is.
So when you say Kanye's mom, she had procedure?
I don't remember what kind of procedure.
But you have to go on anesthesia.
She was out of the country.
Right.
And again, I don't remember if it was Mexico, I don't remember if it was Brazil, but she was literally out of, that's how she died.
Right.
That's how she died. It was an unregulated procedure.
Right. That's why you have to do market survey. You have to talk to people who use the product, and the safety angle has not been, from what I read, has not been talked up as much.
Right.
That there are people who, we talk about price points. There's creams, then there's these procedures that cost thousands of dollars. Then there's the price of, potential price of having to go to Mexico or the DR to get an unregulated procedure. There's no price you can put on it. You know what I'm saying? No price you can put on that. When you're willing to go into those type of measures to get for your body image. Whatever.
Well, I think about it all the time, and I'm just lucky for me to be in a relationship where he didn't mind that I have a few booty bits, but it's something we think about as women.
Is that I'm interested to hear.
I talked about this at work the other day with my boss.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, it was Saturday morning. And I was talking to my boss, and I was like, oh my goodness, I started juicing vegetables again. And I'm talking about what I'm wearing, and I was like, it was kind of tough, and I got these booty dents. And then I remember covering my behind and being, don't look at my booty dent. But it was a conversation we really had.
Yeah.
And we were
So
joking around. These are real conversations.
That real women are having.
Yeah, everyday people
ovaries are being shared.
Yes, this is as normal as which kind of coffee are you going to get today?
Yeah. Okay. What are some of the, especially as a black woman, what are some of the home remedies? What are the current remedies?
Well, I think you brought up, I don't know what that is, I guess exercising. You know, there's, I'm not doing it right now because I'm just working a lot, but, you know, doing the scissors in the air with your legs and working on the stomach, because we got big stomachs too sometimes. But, you know, there's things that we all work on. It's kind of tea that you drink.
Tummy tea.
There are a whole bunch of different types of tummy tea and tea.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
This is weekly, man.
I think we just come up with a tea and put tummy on it.
No. There are as many teas as there are lipsticks. And that is for sure. You know, I happen to have godparents who are Asian, and so I've gone to Taiwan a few times and gone to the tea stores. And so there's this one particular tea I got, and I started saying, I had some comments about it. They were like, well, that tea does. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go get that tea again. But there's, you know, just having energy before you go to the gym.
Yeah.
You know, black tea is different than green tea, etc. I'm not the expert on that, but I can tell you there are multiple different types of products and things that people do to get into the mood that they need to. For example, I don't happen to like South American and, as you say, West Indies coffee. That's what I like, because it's the best coffee on earth. I love Colombian, my family.
Blue Mountain, shout out to Jamaica.
Yeah. I used to drink Blue Mountain, but, you know, my mother's family happens to be from Puerto Rico, so I get a lot of those coffees, and every year and ever since the hurricane, I make sure I have Puerto Rican coffee in my house, and it does the job.
Yeah.
It's quite different. There's a story. I've been in the Missouri legislature since 2005, and prior to that, I worked for the former lieutenant governor, and the lieutenant governor's on the Senate side. And I would always go to the third floor and get the coffee in the Senate, because that's just what I did every day, because it was so good. Then I ran for office as a state representative, got the coffee on the House side, and was like, oh my goodness, this is terrible. So I started going over to the Senate side while I was a House member and got the Senate coffee. And when I first gave up the House seat and went over to the Senate, the last statement that I made in front of everyone on the House floor was, and I'm going over to the side of the Capitol that has the best coffee. And so there's a young lady who just ran and won for the first time as a state representative. And I caught her coming back from the Senate side with a cup of coffee. And she says, oh, that House coffee is just so terrible. And I said, you have a wonderful palate. You have an absolutely wonderful palate. So in any case, it's real. People have different tastes. And you know, they want different things. But that's why I say, and I look at some of the corporations that are in the community that I represent, such as Monsanto. That's one. Mallinckrodt and McDonnell Douglas, which is now Boeing. And I studied them because of multiple issues we were talking about previously. But, you know, one thing that they will tell you is that, you know, Monsanto, when I first ran for office, said it takes about 12 years to get something out of testing onto the market and on to the shelves at a supermarket.
Right.
So it's serious. I mean, they're the ones who created the Agent Orange, you know, and all of those. You have to think about all of those times they were testing. What happened when it didn't come out right, and where did it end up? You know, those are some of the ethical questions we have to ask. So when you talk about this situation, I mean, this would be wonderful to get rid of your butt dents. You know, that your man or your woman just grabs on to and just loves them, just pinches you behind. But in any case, you don't want your loved one to die. And so that's why it's really important to have ethical standards so that you can sell a product regardless of what the amount is and get it to market in the safest way possible.
The other thing I found out is that it's not, a lot of it's cellulite is actually hereditary. It's not, some of it's not, doesn't have anything to do with whether you're skinny or whether you're heavy. some of it can be hereditary.
The cellulite itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you think that, oh, if you're skinny, you don't have cellulite. No, people, skinny women have cellulite.
Yeah, and that's what I found out with my girlfriends. I was like, really? They're like, girl, yeah. I mean, they're like size 6, and I'm like, you got booty jigs too? It's kind of like natural hair. You're natural too?
So it brings up the question, so do women more so do these treatments to get rid of the cellulite, less the weight? Is cellulite the real enemy versus weight?
I think it's really the weight, and obviously, when you have cellulite, it's fat deposits. And like when you really get into like your exercise regimen, you'll still have it. And I've been back and forth, up and down on the whole exercise thing, and I've seen in my good points and some of my bad points. And the better I did, I'd still have cellulite.
Right.
You know, it'll be a little bit less, but that dent is still there.
Right.
It's still there.
And that's what I was thinking about cool sculpting. Cool sculpting is marketing itself as a way to also reduce cellulite, but it's really a fat freezing procedure. It reduces fat, and they're trying to position it that it can reduce cellulite too. And maybe it could, but I don't think it has proven to have efficacy as a Xiaflex. So this is the type of information that we need, and so a lot of analysts are talking about Xiaflex in the clinical trial. They don't use it. You follow what I'm saying? They wouldn't necessarily be a target market. They're not talking to people, real women who.
Well, I think at this point, what the public deserves is all of the information, all of the testing measures, so that the product can be safe. Mm-hmm. That's what they deserve, because there are far too many people who, like Kanye's mom or like Usher's ex-wife, who go under the knife or whatever in a place that is not regulated, and they end up getting really sick or in some cases dying.
I mean, we see that, because we see that even with sex workers, where there is an incentive to look a certain way, to have certain assets, because you're going to be able to bring in, so the thought is, bring in more cash because of it.
It's
so
so
it pushes,
sad.
And I think the thing that's hard to quantify is who's studying this. Who's studying and saying how many women are going to these extremes? What is the average cost? And no one's really doing any of this thing. But right, that's my point.
When I saw a
These are
12-year-old
real women that are really pushing themselves.
When I saw a 12-year-old with a baby in a barrio in Cali, Colombia, it told me everything I needed to know. I mean, they didn't have any good running water, but you had, the higher class, the upper class people who preyed upon these young girls. And, I mean, they were living in homes that were just made out of boxes, literally.
Yeah.
And so, and then I see it in St. Louis, and people just, I mean, even in high school, these kids are thinking, I need to look this certain way so I can sell my body, so I can make this amount of money. And it's devastating. It's just really sad that our environment causes women to get into the oldest trade in the world. And it's uncalled for. So that's a whole nother subject. But
right. But I think we'll have a better idea on. So when Endo CEO says I think they disrupt the $15 billion aesthetics market, I'm not sure. I think he meant regular market.
Right.
So maybe disrupting it is a good thing.
No, and that's the point is that
they're
missing some of the market that are not included.
That could be good.
Because that essentially trickled down effect by now having a market solution where, and kind of I'll leave the moral debate, whether it should happen, whether it shouldn't happen. But, sex workers, people that work in that market, so kind of on the fringe, that wouldn't be deemed as sex workers, but they're there. And it happens, and it's a market, and it's a part of a larger market where we're seeing, through social media, in other words, through the messaging, through the marketing, it's penetrating into the demographic of young teenagers and who they're taking their cues from about what I should look like, what I should feel like. So the ability to be able to now, instead of, well, since you can't afford a regulated solution, take a few $1,000s, go to Mexico, go to DR. Well, now we can take that conversation off the table
But you know, there's so many.
possibly keep young girls and women much safer.
You know what? As you were talking, I was thinking of one of the best examples of this, and that's Cardi B. You know,
Yeah.
like prior to becoming what I was sick last night, so I didn't get to watch the Grammys, but you know, whatever happened last night, what we see on TV, there was a young girl who had a dream and did some stuff maybe other people were involved in. It's not always seen as whatever. She was on one of the reality shows, and she would often talk about her teeth.
Right.
Like, I can't wait to have enough money to have, you know, this kind of teeth and etc. And people were looking at her on reality TV like, I can't wait until.
Right.
And she actually did it.
Yep.
Like, you know, people think that, you know, sometimes it's easy to get from point A to point B, but there are examples of individuals who've had a rough life, and their support came from different corners of society and have been able to become successful. And that's what a lot of our young people see. So when we talk, the other thing I was going to say is when we talk about a product, that when I was a little girl, I never forgot this example that my mom gave me. And we lived in Texas at the time, and she was teaching Spanish to a group of folks for about a year or two. And I remember just driving into downtown Dallas. She was telling me the story of one of the big makeup companies. And then that particular makeup company only made makeup for white women. And then they said, well, we really need to diversify our product. And the moment they diversified the product, you know, making it for women of color as well, that's when their revenue shot up. And it's the same thing for the marijuana market. I have an evangelical aunt, and she's had breast cancer, but she has this cream that she puts on her breast as a cure for her cancer. So, I mean, making things affordable for different markets is really important to do that. And so everybody thinks that they're getting a little piece of the pie. You may not be able to afford a multiple $1,000 procedure, but you can get this cream that costs $300.
Right.
Yeah, that's great.
That's a great point.
So we'll go ahead and thank you for Maria Chappelle-Nadal for insights, but we're going to go ahead and wrap up now. So next event on Endo will be in September, also doing Fashion Week, and hopefully we'll have we can get someone from the company to speak directly to the community. But I think this has been very informative. I'm excited about the stock and the opportunity, and to disrupt the cellulite market, and hopefully next time we have more feedback from a larger pool of women as far as what they know about the product and how they feel about it. So thank you.